All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Heather Rodriguez. I'm a natural fertility specialist, and my background is as an herbalist and nutritionist. So that means everything that I talk about and educate about has to do with natural health, diet, herbs, and supplements. My company is called the Natural Fertility Company, and we help couples who are preparing for conception, who are preparing for a healthier pregnancy. So today's topic that we're going to cover is how to get your period back, and I'm also going to stay on for a live Q&A. And this is one of the most popular topics that we actually get emailed about and that we get contacted about. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to jump right in. So there's a couple of different things that I want to cover before I kind of explain what you can do about it. And that's first is a little bit of background. So amenorrhea is the term that's generally used for when you're missing a period. And so there's primary amenorrhea, and this isn't what we're talking about today. These are the women that never get their period. Like, they don't fulfill that part of puberty. So that's something that we're actually not going to be talking about. I'm talking about secondary amenorrhea. So this is when someone has missed at least 3 menstrual cycles in a row. So that's generally how you kind of determine, is there something going on if you have not had your menstrual cycle for 3 cycles in a row. I know a lot of you contact us, you may have missed 1 cycle, but that's kind of the definition, is 3. I personally don't think you need to wait until 3 are missing to start taking action and doing things for your health, but that's what the clinical textbook is saying. So there's a couple other things to take in consideration. If amenorrhea or lack of your period is due to menopause, there's nothing we can do naturally. Menopause is a natural phase of life. It's something we cannot reverse with natural therapies, just so you know. So causes. So this is where we get into looking at why is there a lack of period. When we're working with natural therapies, we're not going to just jump right in and force a period, because a missing period isn't the cause, it isn't the issue, it's a result, okay? So what that means is there's something happening within the body, and because of that, the period is missing, the cycle is missing. So we actually want to go down to the roots of it, to the root of the issue, and find out what imbalances may be there, okay? So that's how we approach it. We're not just going to talk about a specific herb that's going to force your body to have a period, because what's the point? That is a sign that there's something going on with your body, that there's something out of balance, something missing, etc. So you want to listen to that and do something about it, and as a result, your period will come back. So that's what's so cool about natural therapies and natural health, is you're helping to support the body back to balance, and then everything is functioning as it is designed to. So, okay, so there's a couple different reasons you might be missing your period. The first may be a nutritional deficiency. So if someone is low, for instance, if someone is deficient in iron, they actually might be missing a period. If someone is underweight and not eating enough calories, does not have enough body fat, they might be missing a period. There's a couple of different nutrients. So iron is one. There was a study that showed that women who did not get a sufficient amount of iron not only could suffer from lack of ovulation, but also did not have sufficient enough blood to menstruate. So that is something that's actually common. We've all heard of people who are low in iron. So they found that after supplementing with iron, that they got their cycles back and they were ovulating again, they got their periods back. So an easy fix for this, yes, there's iron supplementation, but for some people that can make them constipated. So when working with iron supplements, if you're going to go that route, make sure to do a whole food based one. I really like the one from Mega Food. That's what we carry. We find that's very easy to digest. It does not make you constipated. But I would actually say try to get it from your diet. If you're focusing on eating a healthy fertility diet that's rich in lots of leafy green vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, beans. If you're eating meat, healthy sources of those meats. So making sure that you're getting enough of those types of foods that are high in minerals, you're going to have enough iron. And also being able to digest your food well. Another one was vitamin C, which is kind of rare for people to be deficient in vitamin C, but smoking a lot of cigarettes can actually affect that. So B vitamins as well, those are affected by smoking, affected by stress, and those you can get from a healthy fertility diet as well. Essential fatty acids, if you're deficient in those, you're not getting the right ingredients to produce hormones, which can have an effect on your uterine lining or having a period. So as you can see, there's a lot of different elements in the diet that can affect whether or not you're having a period. So that's something to think about. That's one area diet that can be addressed. And the thing is, I am going to cover some herbs here in a minute that you can use, but if it's due to nutritional deficiency, no matter what you're doing on the outside, if you're getting a prescription for it, if you're trying to use herbs, whatever it is, if it's nutritionally based, then you have to address the nutritional. Herbs cannot force your body to do something. So nutrition, we covered that. The second was being overweight or underweight. That can affect having a cycle as well. When you're underweight, you may not be producing, you may not have enough fats in your body to produce enough hormones. You might be hormone deficient. So for instance, if you're underweight, you might not be making enough estrogen, which is growing the uterine lining. And so you have a thin lining or not very much, and so you do not menstruate. Being overweight is also another issue because body fat can actually store a lot of excess hormones in the system, and that can put things out of balance, and then your cycle can be very long. You might miss a period. So both of those. So just again coming back into balance. And that takes time, with all of these things. It's going to take time and lifestyle changes. But the great thing is there's so many benefits to it along the way as well, besides getting your period back. The next is going to be PCOS. A lot of women who are experiencing PCOS may not get a period because of the hormonal imbalances occurring, insulin resistance. Exactly. Yes. Someone's saying that's them. So that's one major cause that we run into. Or the menstrual cycle is very inconsistent. It's very hard to chart, know when you're ovulating because you might have a 30-day cycle, you might have a 40-day cycle. It's always changing because of the hormonal imbalances. Stress is another one, and this we find a lot when people move or they have a very stressful job, but generally it's not. When I find when it's caused from stress, it's usually a period missed, not many periods in a row, because generally those stressors are short-lived. And then another is a thyroid issue. This is something that a lot of people kind of goes undetected for a lot of people, and it's happening a lot right now. So hypothyroidism, underactive thyroid, not producing enough of thyroid hormone can actually cause issues with the menstrual cycle. Yes. So pituitary tumors, pretty rare, but that's also going to affect the pituitary gland, and the pituitary plays a huge role in fertility and the whole cycle of menstruation. Premature ovarian failure. This is when you lose normal ovarian function before the age of 40. So this is naturally going to affect your menstrual cycle. Also, perimenopause or menopause, which I talked about before. This is when you are starting to have your shift and your change, and naturally you're going to stop having your period, and we can't change that naturally. So before we go into what you can do naturally, I first want to let you know when to see a doctor. There are times when you may want to go in and get testing done to see what may be going on for you. Is it hormonal? Is it nutritional? So that's always good, but something to think about is they generally are going to suggest you take an oral contraceptive. They'll naturally put you on a birth control pill to make you have a period. So this isn't going to solve the problem. This isn't going to help you have a natural menstrual cycle. This isn't going to help you have a cycle that's very healthy for fertility and for getting pregnant. So it's, just one second. So it's kind of pointless, right? If they're going to just go ahead and put you on birth control and you're trying to get pregnant, how is that going to be helpful? Okay. But it is good to find out what's going on, to get testing done, to see how's your thyroid, how's your estrogen levels, how are your progesterone levels, etc. Okay, so now we're going to go on to herbs. And when it comes to herbs for helping to promote menstruation, this is generally when there is either a situation of congestion or stagnation. So you don't have enough healthy blood flowing through your system, you're sitting a lot, or if it's due to hormonal imbalance, which it is quite frequently. The thing with using herbs, though, to bring on menstruation is they are definitely herbs you cannot use while you're pregnant. So if you think you're pregnant, do not use these herbs. This needs to be used, take a pregnancy test beforehand. Just know for sure if you're pregnant or not, because they're very stimulating herbs. They're very stimulating to the uterus, and they're not herbs that are suggested for pregnancy. Okay. So the first is going to be black cohosh. I don't know if this is a pretty popular herb. I don't know if you guys have heard of this herb before, but black cohosh has been used traditionally for thousands of years, especially for helping to stimulate the menstrual cycle and to help bring it back on track. It's also very calming and supportive to the uterus. Another one is dong quai. I know you guys have heard of this. I talk about this herb a lot. Dong quai is fantastic because it's an herb that helps to build up the blood. So if you have a depleted system, underweight, overweight, stressed out, it helps to build up the system again. That's a little bit too thin. That's too drawn out and spent. So it helps to build the blood. It helps if there may be anemia in that kind of situation. And it's also very stimulating. So it increases circulation to the reproductive system. I love dong quai for that because it's not only does it have that kind of strong action that's going to get things moving, but it's also going to nourish you. So that's really important. Another one is motherwort. So motherwort is a beautiful, beautiful plant. This is used to help to improve uterine tone. It's also very calming for stress and for helping to reduce strong emotions. But it's also stimulating, very mildly stimulating to your uterus. So we're helping to get things moving and get energy flowing. And the last is going to be white peony. And this is an herb that's very, it helps to build blood, it increases circulation to the uterus. And it's also going to help provide overall support to the reproductive system. So all of these are very powerful herbs in the way that they cause movement within the body. These aren't our general go-to for hormonal regulation or hormonal balance. These are more our builders for hormonal regulation and our movers. So this is something, these are herbs that you're not necessarily going to take for a long time. Generally, when you're using it, you would use it until you get your period. My formula is called Rejuvafloat. It contains all of these herbs. And so you would use the formula every single day, and then your period, and after a bit of time, your period should start. It should stimulate it. This isn't something that you do. You do not use these herbs day in, day out for months, just so you know, because they're very stimulating. You can make a tea with these herbs. The only problem is most of them are roots. And tea and roots, it's not my favorite way to use roots because you need to cook them for a long time, and many of these roots are very bitter. So they're not going to taste very good, but you can make a tea with these. The black cohosh root is a very hard root, so you're going to need to cook them for a period of time. I personally love liquid extract for this type of formula because you want it to work quickly. There's some other herbs that are going to help to promote a regular menstrual cycle once you've kind of stimulated that cycle. Shatavari is fantastic. This is in the asparagus family. It's a root that's used in traditional Ayurvedic herbalism. And it helps to regulate estrogen levels in the body. So if your estrogen's low, it's going to help to regulate that. If it's high, it helps regulate that as well. Some people have low estrogen, and that's what's actually causing them to not have a period because they have not built up enough uterine lining to be shed, which is what your period is. Tribulus is fantastic. It's going to support overall healthy hormonal levels and also very supportive for ovulation. And then last but not least is one of our favorites. Can you guys guess what it's going to be? She shows up in almost every single broadcast that I do. Vitex. Yay! Maka. It could have been Maki Savory Girl. Yes, Vitex. So Vitex. Vitex is a fantastic herb because it's going to help support hormonal imbalance. So if you do not have a period because of that, so say PCOS, that's a situation where there's this hormonal imbalance occurring. You're not ovulating, you are not getting a period, what's going on? Vitex is an herb to look into for that. It's such a supportive hormonal regulator because it's going to support the pituitary gland, the ovaries, this whole hormonal access and this communication loop that's happening between the hormones. That's what Vitex is going to help with. So the herbs I talked about earlier are more the stimulating, the kind of wake up and building herbs, and then the Shatavari, Tribulus, and Vitex, those herbs are all going to be very specific for the hormonal building and regulating to help bring back the menstrual cycle. There's been many studies show that Vitex is useful when you are experiencing a period due to an eating disorder or being underweight. So that's something to think about and to add to that. There's a couple other things. It's going to take a couple of months when it comes to hormonal regulating herbs. There's a lot of different communication feedback loops. There's a lot of different receptor sites. There's all these things that happen during the month that need to come into place for a healthy, complete cycle. We don't just want the period to come back. We want you to also be ovulating. We also want your cycle length to be the right length. So there's a lot of different factors in play. Just having a period doesn't mean that you're ovulating. It doesn't mean that your cycle length, etc. You get it? So while we're doing that, we're supporting that, we're also making sure that the whole picture is supported and your whole hormonal cycle, monthly cycle, is a healthy one. So think about that, and I would take about 2 to 3 months to see the full results of that. So when you are starting to use herbs for hormonal balance and hormonal regulation, things may seem off for a little bit. They actually may seem like they're getting worse, or going the opposite direction of what you were hoping for that first cycle. Like there might be spotting, your cycle might be longer, might be shorter, but that's just all actually pretty normal when you're starting to use herbs to support hormonal balance. It's just the body shifting and doing its thing. So it's going to take about 2 to 3 months before you start seeing something normalize and kind of begin to look what a normal cycle needs to look like. If it does not, then you need to look at diet. Diet has not been addressed. Vitex is an amazing herb. All of these herbs are fantastic. Donquai, motherwort, tribulus, these are all great. But if you are not doing the foundational steps of diet, they're not going to work that well. I'm telling you, so many people will contact us and say, I've been taking Vitex for 3 months. It hasn't done anything. And then we'll ask them some questions about their diet, and they're still eating a diet that's going to really affect their insulin levels. That's really going to affect their hormonal balance. They're not getting sleep. Sleep is so important. I should mention sleep. So you have to do both. All right, so last tip. Also, when you're trying to stimulate a period, is self-fertility massage or some type of fertility massage is naturally going to help because you're increasing circulation to the reproductive system. So those are my top tips for that. I hope you found that helpful. I will actually stay on now for a Q&A. If you guys have any questions about this or natural fertility in general, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. And also, when you post your question, copy it in case I miss it so you can paste it again. Tanisha, what about Vitex capsules, you are asking? Vitex capsules are great, whichever works for you. Vitex capsules, liquid herbal extract, we carry both of those. Capsules are really convenient for a lot of people. I like liquid herbal extracts because I can put all the different herbs I'm using into one beverage or smoothie or whatever it is. How long after Clomid cycles is it safe to take Rejuvaflo or Vitex if Clomid was unsuccessful? You can start the next cycle. The thing with using something like Rejuvaflo is that's a short-term use, so you're going to use that for a week or maybe longer. Vitex, you're going to use every single day for a longer period of time. So both of those are fine to start when you feel like you're a little bit more back to normal after using the Clomid. When it comes to Vitex, 1,000 milligrams a day is generally where we see a good result. Some people may want to use less. Some people may want to use more, dependent on their body size or how sensitive they are. But 1,000 milligrams as one dose early in the morning, or not early, in the morning is fine. Any herbs to support a status quo early pregnancy, 7 weeks? Congratulations. So when it comes to early pregnancy, actually less is better. We don't use a lot of herbs at that time. What I would focus more on is 1, getting enough rest, and 2, nutrition. Making sure that you're eating nutrient-dense foods, and that one of my biggest tips for pregnancy is when you're taking in liquids, making sure all of your liquids actually contain nutritional value, not just water. So if you're drinking water, maybe drinking some watermelon, like taking some watermelon and blending that and drinking that. Or if you're drinking water, making iced tea out of very supportive, gentle herbs, or having juice or having smoothies and getting your liquids that way, making sure that anytime you're drinking a lot of liquid, you're getting nutritional value with it. It's not just water. The reason for that is when you're drinking so much water, it thins the blood. And when you're pregnant, you're going to be producing 50% more blood than you currently are. So you'll be at 150% blood capacity, and you don't want to water that down. You want to keep up your nutritional status of that blood. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that would be one of my great tips. So diet is what you would look at. You just finished Clomid 2 days ago, upcoming cycle IUI. Can you go back to using your herbs? If you have an IUI coming back and you're going back on medications for that, then I would not suggest any herbs. At that time, maybe fertility smoothies. Again, diet's going to be fine. You can use supplements as long as you run them by your doctor, but I wouldn't use any herbs at that time, such as maca, because you're going to start fertility medications again. No ovulation this cycle. Period is 5 days late. HPT is negative. Should you start these herbs? Is that something that you have had happen before? Missing cycle and ovulation. Oh, I missed the first part of your question. It is something, so that's something that you go through normally. If it's something that's pretty normal for you, then yes. If you know you've taken your pregnancy test, it's 5 days past period, then you can, you've confirmed that you are not pregnant for sure, then go ahead and you can start on herbs. Can you go back to the herbs because you completed your 5 days Clomid? Yes, you can, as long as you're not combining the two. We don't want to combine Clomid and herbs together. Any thoughts on inositol for PCOS? I've seen a lot of promising results with it. It's not something that we necessarily have used just yet, but it's not for any negative reason. But I've read some really great things about it. Is a period normal? First 2 to 3 days heavy, and then 4 to 5 days. Yes, that can be pretty normal. Yeah. You finally just adjusted to the taste of maca. What do I think of DHEA to regulate hormones? Oh, that's a great question. So DHEA is something we've written a couple of different articles about, but it's a supplement that we do not work with. There's a couple of different reasons for that. DHEA is a precursor to many hormones, not just progesterone or estrogen or testosterone, any of these. So when it comes to DHEA, if you're going to use it, definitely work with a naturopath or a doctor who is very versed in using it so they can watch your hormonal blood levels, because it can turn into any hormone. That's why we actually don't use it. It's kind of a wild card. Some people have gotten good results with it, but when we're working with people all over the world, all over the country, and we can't do blood tests, we can't observe and see what's happening and what the DHEA is turning into in the system. So I personally don't find DHEA to be a safe supplement for people to just for anyone to use without being observed and seeing what it's turning into. On the other hand, there's so many other things that we can use that's going to be more supportive of the system and let the body to do its own work and choose what hormones needs to be changed into because of where they are in your cycle and where the imbalances are. So we actually do not use DHEA. I do not recommend it for that reason, but we've had great results with everything else that we are using. It's just kind of a wild card. I'll just leave it at that. I have a 25-day cycle, ovulate on day 11. Do I need to use Vitex to extend to get pregnant? So let's see. So you ovulate on day 11, you have a 25-day cycle. So it sounds like your luteal phase is about 13 days. So that should actually be fine. 12 to 13 days, or 12 minimum is what we're looking for a healthy luteal phase length. Day 3 of your smoothie challenge, is it PCOS friendly? Yeah, so when it comes to the smoothie challenge and PCOS, when you're making the smoothies, just make sure that you are not adding any of the fat to the smoothies, because that is what's going to slow down the blood sugar and the sugars that are being absorbed into the body from the smoothies. Something else to consider is, that's basically it. That's how I would adjust those, because some of them do have like coconut added to them, so I would just make them as low fat as possible. The fruit is okay as long as you're eating low fat. If you're eating a high fat diet, then the fruit is going to be, the digestion is going to be slowed down, and then that's where you get the problems with insulin resistance. So eating a low fat diet, you can eat fruit. It will not affect your insulin resistance. It'll actually be absorbed quickly into your body, but when there's fat present, that's where the issues arise. And I'm planning on doing a PCOS fertility smoothies kind of special, for PCOS, so that I can explain all of that, so that you're able to make your smoothies. Period is light. Is there any way to make it heavier? Where can you go to buy goji berries and Vitex and primrose oil? Will this help? I'm not sure, Natasha. Vitex and primrose oil, will this help what? I need more details. Oh, darn it. I just forgot those two questions. They were good questions. Goji berries, do a search online for organic goji berries. There's tons of companies selling them. 4 days past ovulation, backache, a pregnancy symptom. 4 days past ovulation is too early to know because the embryo, the fertilized egg, has not even implanted by day 4 of past ovulation. So implantation hasn't even occurred yet. Sorry. Can you take Rejuvaflo and Vitex at the same time? Yes, you can. You can use those herbs together. Yes, ma'am. Natasha, give me a little bit more detail. I'm not quite sure what you're asking about Vitex and Primrose oil. They can be used together if that's what you're asking. All right, guys. All right, so if you have any more questions, post them. I hope you found today's talk helpful and it cleared up some questions for you. Red raspberry leaf, tea. Yeah, red raspberry is great unless you've had recurrent miscarriages. That's the time I would not use it. Will temp spike after positive ovulation test? Generally, they will not spike. If you're doing your testing at the same time every single day, what you'll see is you'll see a dip when ovulation occurs, and then there'll be a spike, but it's not really spike because the temperature is just going to keep on increasing. So here we are, ovulation occurs, and then the temperature should begin to rise. It shouldn't drop. There shouldn't just be a spike and drop. Unless you took your temperature at the wrong time, then that can happen because your temperature is different. If you took it at 7 a.m. one day and 9 a.m. the next day, it's going to be totally different, and then that day is just off. But you should gradually see the temperature begin to rise after ovulation. Take them together. Do they help enhance? I also heard robotism helps with CM. Yes, so both of those. So Primrose oil is fantastic for cervical mucus. I've heard that about robotism. Definitely something you could try. I'm just not crazy about the ingredients. But I've heard that people have successfully used it for increasing cervical mucus. I missed a couple questions. If you guys want to post those again, sorry. Grab my water. Yeah, Vitex isn't generally used to increase cervical mucus, but I wouldn't be surprised. I've heard also some people doing maca as help. PCOS, no period for 6 months. Changed diet. Now been on cycle for 1 month. What to do? You've been on cycle for 1 month. So you got your cycle back and you've had it for 1 month. What do you mean? I don't get my period regularly. What can I do to help it come? So Ashley, there's a couple different things when it, so many great questions. Okay, so helping to get your period more regular. Definitely watch I don't know if you've been here since the beginning, watch this whole talk. It's going to cover a lot of what you would need to look into, which is going to be diet and the different herbs. But what would also be helpful for you is fertility charting and trying to figure out what part of your cycle isn't, regular. Are you not getting your period regularly, but you're ovulating? Or is your cycle length changing? Is it going 28 days, 35 days? So finding out more information about what it means that it's not coming regularly is going to help you pinpoint what direction to go into. So you got to kind of start there, taking a step back and looking at, well, what part of your cycle isn't regular? Been at the doctor, let's see, 40 period, 29th March, Clomid 5 days. Yeah, after Clomid, it's very common to not get your cycle and be normal for a while after Clomid. It's just part of taking Clomid. It is very, very strong, and it can definitely mess up a cycle. Your gynecologist said there's no reason you can't get pregnant except that you're 49. Will Vitex help you ovulate? Possibly. If you are starting to have menopause, then Vitex won't do anything, but Vitex is very supportive to the pituitary gland, which is going to be part of what signals ovulation to occur, part of the whole orchestra of hormones. There's a lot of different factors to that. So if you want to contact us at naturalfertilityshop.com, we can ask you more specific questions. So you can kind of pinpoint if that's the right direction for you. Can Vitex and Primrose oil cause anxiety? I have not heard of Primrose oil causing anxiety. I have heard on very rare cases for Vitex to possibly cause depression in those who may already have depression. What I find is just to lessen the amount that you're taking, if that is the case. But it's pretty darn rare. It's not even listed in the pharmacopoeia for Vitex. It's such a rare occurrence. Been on cycle. Oh, I missed that. Said you're not in menopause. Vitex is something to look into, as is Tribulus. Those both are pretty supportive. But there's a lot of factors. Again, like I said, diet. Can you tell me when the fourth herb to stimulate? The fourth herb, let's see, we talked about Vitex, we talked about Dong Quai, we talked about motherwort. What else did we talk about? You have to rewatch it. I'm sorry. I closed my notes. I've been to the doctor a million times because you're premenopausal. First, I was given Provera pills and then told not to take them, but OBGYN wouldn't check to see if I had hormonal imbalance. What should you do? Tantanisha, you should get a new doctor. You should find a doctor that's going to be supportive of you, and that when you request to get blood testing done and have your hormones tested, that they are more than happy to help you and to continue to investigate to figure out what's happening for you. So that would be my huge suggestion, is to get a new doctor. Naturopath, depending on what states you're in, naturopaths are covered under insurance, and they are, yes, it was white peony. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you so much. Once I get into Q&As, my previous conversation just jumped out. So they are way more, they know the value of blood tests. Naturopathic doctors will want to find out the root cause of what's going on. So go that route. It's worth, if you have to pay for it out of pocket, it's worth it. It's so worth it to find someone who's going to be supportive of you. But blood tests, yeah, if your doctor's saying no, find a new doctor. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. I've been trying for years. It's been so hard. I hear you. Do you think acupuncture works? Yes, I think acupuncture is fantastic. I don't think it works for everybody, of course, just like anything. But acupuncture is a way of helping to balance the body. It's something I would use in conjunction. Should you use RejuvaFlow? You just stopped using Clomid and your cycle's all messed up. That's a possibility, to look into RejuvaFlow. Personally, I would also look into doing a fertility cleanse. If you're not planning on doing Clomid again next cycle and you're kind of over and done with the Clomid thing, I would do a fertility cleanse. That could help to cleanse the body, help to, support the liver in getting the Clomid out of the system. And then you can, from there, see what happens to your cycle. And then if you need to, you can use RejuvaFlow. What's considered, you're over Clomid. I know, Clomid's Clomid, I'll just say that. Yeah, so I would look more at doing a cleanse when you've done something such as, say you've been on hormonal birth control or done Clomid or anything that's super strong, trying to force the body hormonally to do something. I would actually look at the fertility cleanse first and then possibly RejuvaFlow if you end up needing that. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And also, see what seems right to you in your gut, but that's more the direction I would go after using Clomid or birth control pills to make a period happen, or make, obviously, ovulation in the case of Clomid. Okay, guys, great. So I'm glad that you found today's talk helpful. Been on a cycle for 30 days straight. What to do? So, Miss Witt, does that mean you've been menstruating for 30 days straight? Have you had a non-stop period for 30 days? Okay, so in that case, you need to go see your doctor and find out what is happening. If you have had 30 days of non-stop bleeding, you definitely need to go see your doctor so they can find out what's going on with that. Definitely. She basically told you to give up or go to fertility clinic. That probably wouldn't be able to help you. So if you're getting, because you were asking about, I'm glad that you guys find that helpful. You have PCOS, and so you've been to the doctor, and that's what they said was happening. So Tatanashia, I'm sorry, I'm totally messing up your name. So you've been seeing a general practitioner, and she's telling you to go see an RE. That's fine. An RE will know more and will do better testing than her. So that's another direction to go, is to go and get your testing done by a reproductive endocrinologist. They specialize in fertility, and they do blood tests. Like, that's half of what they do. So that's another suggestion for you. Should you do a cleanse after surgery? What kind of surgery? I think I missed your earlier comment. Will it affect fertility? I don't know what kind of surgery that you're talking about. Okay, I'll take just a couple more questions if you want to pop them. I really appreciate your live chats and answering millions of our questions. You're welcome. I really love connecting with you guys and seeing where you're at and seeing how I can help. This is my mission. Yes, you can listen to this later. This will be up on Periscope for 24 hours. It will be up indefinitely on Facebook, and then I also post these on YouTube. It takes a couple days for that. But YouTube's nice because you can fast forward and rewind on them. Oh, you can on all of them, actually. You can now. Okay, yes, luteal phase. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for your patience. And nice seeing you again. So 14-day luteal phase normal. Yes. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yay, great. I'm glad you're finding this helpful, Natasha. I'm glad that you joined us. Okay, guys. All right, I'm gonna go. You have a great day. Yeah, I'll see you guys again tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about tomorrow. We'll see what is in the ethers and what people need to hear about most. But I'm so glad that you joined me today. Have a good one.